All right. So imagine this. You finally got your hands on a couple Pokemon packs. You go ahead and rip them open, and you end up pulling the chase card. Or maybe even a God pack, right? Especially since now we have God packs in the English side. You send them to grade with PSA, you wait a couple months, you come back, and you already know you have PSA 9s. And how do we know this? Well, for the simple fact that you didn't get upcharged. If you didn't get upcharged, that means you got PSA 9s. So therefore, your cards didn't go up in value. They stay the same, right? And that's kind of where we're at right now with the market. Whenever you get a PSA 9 goes for the raw value of a card. Now, that could be very disappointing, but the way that I see it, it's actually a perfect opportunity for you guys to arbitrage or crack that PSA 9 and send it to tag, and hopefully it comes back at 10. Because here's the thing, whenever you guys are grading with PSA, regardless, like whenever you guys are grading with them, you guys understand that you guys are going with PSA because that's currently right now the normal, but it's really just the normal because it has the most resale and liquidity value. It does not do anything else for collectors. In fact, it punishes collectors because if you do have a 10, you got to pay that upcharge, and that is ridiculous. But nonetheless, right? So you have the opportunity to crack these PSA 9s and grade them through tag. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's dumb. Why would I do that? But unfortunately, or not maybe unfortunately for you, and fortunately for a lot of collectors, or maybe even just what I would say, like, smart people or financially conscious people, they would see this as an opportunity. While PSA is currently the gold standard, right? At the end of the day, they are still the king of subjective grading, which means regardless of what card you send, whatever the conditioning there is, there's always that one possibility that your card that you're getting graded with PSA might not have the same or might not have the grade that it warrants. Why? Your grader might be overworked, might be going through some emotional disturbance. His head might be somewhere else, or he's going through the motion, so therefore him grading your card might not be completely accurate. Now, PSA, let's just be little conspiracy theorists and just say maybe PSA doesn't really want to give you that 10 in your first submission. Why? Because humans are innately stubborn and they will believe that, hey, the card that I pulled is a certified 10. I know it. So I just need to resubmit it again and you will see it will come back as a 10. And there's a possibility that it will, right? So you guys, but to me, I don't know. I would like to eliminate that guess whether my card is a PSA 9 or PSA 10 contender. Now rather just grade it with tag and hopefully comes back as a 10. So let's go ahead and talk. Now, if you're really going to consider doing this, you guys have to understand that this is going to be basically gambling. In a sense, you're basically gambling on the fact that the PSA grader did an error or didn't do justice to your card. So you going with an objective grader that is tagged. There's no bias. They're not going to be lenient. Your card is going to get the grade that the AI thinks it deserves, right? That it knows that it deserves after doing the scan. So if you're planning of doing this, you have to do a couple things, right? One of the first things that you're doing is you got to make sure that if you're going to be buying or cracking a PSA 9 for this experiment, you have to be looking for strong nines. Whenever we're looking at strong nines, is one of the first things that I'm always going to be talking about, even whenever I do this myself, is you got to be looking for this. You got to look for the centering. The closer to 50-50 on the centering for these cards, the better. Regardless, it's PSA, tag, CGC, SGC, Beckett, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. These grading companies are looking for that 50-50 grading, right? On the top and bottom, left and right, and the back is going to be a little bit different. So you want to make sure that your card that you're going to do this has a very strong centering. 50-50 as close as possible. Tag does let you get away sometimes with 45-55, but at the end of the day, 50-50 or 52-48 or whatever, it's just going to be better for you. So make sure that you're looking for strong nines. Whenever you're looking at the corners, make sure the corners are looking good. No visible whitening. We're talking about no issues on the edges, and obviously no print lines. Try to avoid any kind of with print lines. Now, one of the things that you should completely avoid is kind of any shivering on modern Pokemon cards. You also don't want to have like any edging in the back of the cards, because then you know that the edge, you might be looking at some sort of edge damage on these cards. Modern art cards with full arts, print line. Like quality control on English cards is horrible, right? So one of the things that you can go ahead and eliminate is print lines. And when it comes to tag surface dents, if that your card that you have has any kind of dent, that's it. Like I'm letting you know right now, it's gonna get an 8 at best. Tag kills cards with that. Whenever it has any kind of dent, you're looking at an 8 so far. So should you be doing this with every single card that you get from PSA? That you get a PSA 9? Absolutely not. Honestly, the best thing that you can do is kind of focus on chase cards, modern art cards with like they have like low population but high demand. But even then, like the way the hobby is going, like the Pokemon promo and the Van Gogh Pikachu, it's one of the most graded cards ever, but the value of it is still high. So maybe sometimes population report doesn't matter. I think right now we're at the stage where demand outweighs the population report, and to me that's kind of insane, right? But like also be looking at cards where a 10 is going to give you significant value, but if it gets a pristine 10, because that's one of the things. Has the option that you might be able to get a pristine 10, and it almost acts like a black label 10. Whenever we're talking about the black label 10 is the best grade that you can get in subjective grading. And for right now, we have to admit that the pristine 10 in tag rating is the best grading that you can get using AI. They're While they're the same thing in different grading spheres, they should be treated equally. So while you're cracking a possible 9, if you feel very strong about it, know that there's three possible outcomes. Well, there's more possible outcomes, but at the end of the day, you are looking at a PSA. You're hoping that this PSA 9 comes back as a tag 10. And for what miracle of God, it comes back as a pristine 10, because that's where you're going to be making a lot of the profit. Now, so what kind of cards should be you looking for? Like cards that were like, what are you looking for? Well, you're looking for cards that like in a PSA 9. Like here's an example. You don't want to do this on a card where you are buying a PSA 9, or the PSA 9 is valued at $150, right? But whenever you grade it with tag, it only increases it to like 180. Because at the end of the day, the fees, whether if you're selling it online or like trading it in shops, it's going to kill any kind of profit margin. So you have to look for cards that have a huge upside. We're talking about, how can I put this? Because, well, how can I put this? Like, let's do the math, right? You purchase you're at a card shop and you see a card that you really want, and you look at it and it's a strong 9. You purchase a card for like around $220. You crack it as best as you can, right? The grading fee with tag is going to be somewhere around $30 to $60 depending on the service that you want. I would always say get the 1,000 point system, so that way you not only have a tag 10, but the higher that you are on that $1,000 point system, the better resale value the card is going to have. So like let's say you're closer to 60. Shipping costs both ways, because whenever you're shipping it and you're getting it back, you're paying it. It's gonna be a little it's gonna be over $20. So for this whole entire experiment on a high value card, you're looking somewhere around 270 to $300 for this card. Now, if that tag 10, you get it back and it's a 10, right? But you can sell it for like around $450 after fees and everything. You're looking somewhere around like $380, which is going to be somewhere maybe like on the low side $80, on the high side maybe a little bit over 100, depending of whenever you sell the card on the market. So there is some significant profits that you can do doing this. However, this is only really going to work if you're constantly picking strong nines that grade for tens, you know, and you kind of want to hope that. And right now we're seeing it that tag 10 cards are going for PSA 10 values. So you want to make sure that it's cards that people really want to collect, not not that follow on the niche collecting grading market. Now, whenever you're doing this, if you're doing it only with one card, well, that's only like an $80 profit to $100 profit. It's not too bad. But the more that you're doing it, the like one of the best examples that you can do, like let's say you manage to pull the prismatic evolution god pack with all the evolutions. We understand that that set is humongous, right? So there's no reason why you wouldn't send that set for grading, even if the cards are beautiful. Maybe you're like, you don't. If you send those cards out for grading and they come back as tens, you're gonna win. You're gonna come out on top, right? It doesn't happen very often in this hobby, but doing this with prismatic evolutions, especially, you will come on top because it's a very strong set. Those terrestrialized evolutions have a pretty high margin, but like the best example that I can give you is gonna be the Sumbrion, right? So the English Sumbrion, either raw or any PSA 9, goes for like around $1,000. Cracking it and sending it to tag, you're adding $60 for that one single card to go get graded, and you come back. Now, we are seeing that Sumbrion and a tag 10 selling for a bare minimum of $3,500 up to $4,000, comparable to PSA 10 prices. Now, people will buy that card because it is a 10 and it's one of the very popular Pokemon. So if you manage to pull this off, right, especially cards that are hard to grade, like, and that's one of those things that you gotta understand. It is a risk, but your margin, your profit margin on that, you're looking over 2 grand of margin after fees. You're looking more honestly closer to three, or but like you're looking at around 2 grand, calling it safe. That's enough to redo the experiment couple times, or maybe even going down a lower value and increasing your amount of submissions that you are trying to do this, because I do see this as a viable little business side hustle, but it's going to take work, and it's not about luck. It's about you beating the AI system, because at the end of the day, you're betting on multiple things. You're betting that the PSA 9 is technically a 10, but just PSA being PSA gave it a 9 in the hopes that you do resubmit it. Well, congratulations, you did resubmitted it, but not to them. And I think honestly that's better. That's still the better option, because you're avoiding that upcharge fee, right? And that's always going to be a key factor, because that is really going to be eating into your profit. So there's other things that you got to be looking at. Right now, it might not be the best time, but like depending on whenever you see the video, if we're seeing Pokemon going down, this might be after the 30th anniversary, or maybe everyone's focusing on Ascended Heroes and the 30th anniversary, or whatever the set is at the time. You might be able to buy some of the other sets chase cards for a significant discount, because the attention's not on that. So don't always be looking at what other people are doing. Look at the areas where people are forgetting, because at the end of the day, there's still a lot of promo cards that you can take advantage on. There's still a lot of SARs. There's still a lot of moves that you can do this and come on top. And like, either if you're not looking to resell, you can also be building your collection with pieces that other people might collect, because that even then, some people will go ahead and get that 10 tag 10 off of your hands, but just because they know that card is significantly, like, it's a good card to recreate if they wanted to crack it and recreate it for PSA for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, also, sorry, I always say that, but even then, like, if rating fails, like, whether if PSA crashes, whether tag crashes, CGC, or whether if everyone one day wakes up and say that grading is a scam, at least you know that your copy of that card is by far one of the better copies out there in the world. So, like, it's not the worst thing to always be grading. You might not always have to agree with it, but there is potential to make money. And a lot of people who are entering the hobby right now are here to make money. So What are going to be some of the risks whenever you're kind of doing this little arbitrage, right? Well, it's going to be market liquidity. Like PSA does move faster than tag. I'm not going to disagree with that. I can't even defend tag on this. But tag slabs do sell, right? Especially the pristine Pokemon. See, we're talking about Sumbreon, the Mega Charizard, the Charizard, the Fat Charizard from 151, or the Van Gogh Pikachu. These cards are selling on a daily basis. Why? Because it's a card that's in high demand and people want it. So, market liquidity matters, and making sure that you're grading the things that people want to collect now, not things you don't want to be doing this on future plays, and those future plays never play off. You also want to be doing it making sure that you're being consistent and getting consistent results. If you're sending 10 cards and you're doing this and only one or two come back as 10s, then by all means necessary, like, yeah, those two 10s might offset the value, but it might be a failure because you want to be consistently good at doing this. At the end of like, you can make some money, but you got to be good enough and have a good enough eye where you can go ahead and pick 10s out of these nines, or this mislabeled nines that PSA likes to do. Um, Whenever you're cracking them, please be careful. Cracking PSA nines, like some of the older PSA 9 slabs or PSA slabs, are easier to crack because the plastic was a little brittle. But some of the plastic has kind of started to change where they started using like different material for their slabs, but it's more gummy, more chewy. It takes more to bend for the plastic to give and crack. So cracking PSA slabs, or even for that matter CGC, it's gonna be significant. Like, you gotta be skilled at that. You can't go all willy nilly. Take your time, take it slow, because this is not only an experiment, it's also an investment. But like, uh, so it's one of those things that you guys gotta have to be looking for, making sure that you are doing fantastic on the cracking. And the population report, we're still right now in the early stages of tag. So from all the cars that I've graded with tag, there's only been a certain few that has crossed over 1,000 grades, or 1,000 times that it has gotten graded. And it makes sense because even though right now Pokemon is a huge hobby, it's huge right now. There's millions and millions of cards, right? We're not talking just about millions and millions of Pokemon cards. We're talking about One Piece, Digimon, all these other TCGs and sports cards. So just pay attention to the population report. Don't do a card that everyone's doing and expecting your card to reach a higher premium than everyone else. Look for desirable cards. But a lot of the times when people pull that chase card, they're gonna go to a PSA just because of the resale value. So look at some of the cards. If you manage to pull one of the newer cards in the new set, my advice would be send it straight to tag. Don't do the PSA, because in worst case scenario, you get it through tag, right? And it's a 10, then you have more confidence to recrack that tag slab and send it to PSA for their high resale value. If your tag slab comes back as a pristine 10, then I would even recommend maybe suggesting cracking that tag 10, that tag pristine 10, and send it to Beckett for the opportunity of chasing that first black label in your collection. Tag doesn't have to be the final grading tool, but it can be the first grading tool for you to make some smarter business decisions and kind of see if you have a good eye for grading. And it's one of those things. So now, is this going to be like, can you scale this going into like, are this going to be like a scalable thing that if you get lucky your first two times and you're going to continue doing so? Well, yes and no. It's going to be completely dependent on the hobby itself, on the fact that these slabs still have to resell online for PSA prices for people to have more confidence to do so and continue this arbitrage. If no one's really buying tag slabs, and then it might be harder to move, it might be slower to move, but I would say don't give up, be patient, keep holding on to your cards. Because worst case scenario, let's say tag does flop, because there's always that possibility that tag could flop, or PSA buys out tag, and maybe tag loses all the support that it has from the collectors and the content creators online. If your chase card, if you do have the Umbreon and it comes back as a tag 10, but all of a sudden tag is worthless, it doesn't mean that the Umbreon lost its value. You can go ahead and crack that tag 10 slab for the raw, and your card is still worth the same amount of value that it originally was as a raw card. Like, it doesn't matter if tag flopped, your raw card, at the end of the day you still have a raw card that's worth a significant amount of money. So that's why I don't understand where people who get PSA 9s and give up and then just sell them to PSA for a small margin. You guys are stupid. I would strongly recommend that even if you get a PSA 9, you can go ahead and re-crack it, because at the end of the day, the value of the raw card, if it is a good card, is still significantly better, and you have more of an opportunity to come up on top if you send it to tag and it grades a 10. But I mean, that's just something that I want to talk about. I mean, do you guys agree and disagree? Have you guys done this? Because I've done a couple multiple times. I've done it with a couple of promo cards in the $30 range, in the PSA 9 $30 range. And whenever they've come back, I've gotten a couple tag 10s. We're talking about the Ants Reshiram, the enhanced booster box promo card. We're talking about Charizard promo card, Lily's Clefairy promo card. We're talking about Shrouded Fable, Okidoki. There's plenty of cards that I've already done this, including in the CGC side. So as the hobby keeps evolving, and some of these cards are getting, they don't always blow up in the very beginning. They blow up in the later part of their careers or in their lifespan. Consider doing this. Like, I'm telling you, if you guys get a PSA 9, keep the 9. Don't give it to PSA. They're ripping you guys off. Keep it, crack it, regrade it with someone else. Don't let PSA have the final word. You can make so much more money or have better opportunities to grow your guys' collection if you guys just stop focusing on PSA and go somewhere else. So from that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.